Oh boy, the first new Nancy Drew book of 2015. Don't get me wrong, I love reviewing books that were written before I was born. But there's just something extra special about having the newest Nancy Drew book. The book begins with Nancy yelling at her boyfriend because he's always ignoring her and canceling their dates. Is this a breakup scene? Let me get some popcorn! Nancy explains that Ned is busy because he's working as an intern for her father. Sorry, got some popcorn stuck in my throat there. Ned, dude, you're seriously working for your girlfriend's father? Don't you see any potential problems with this situation? And more importantly, is this a paid internship? Because I could use a little extra money. Ned and Mr. Drew are going to the courthouse today to check on evidence for a case. The evidence is a locked box which contains some stolen jewels. At the same time, Nancy and her friends are going to a big magic show! Yay, magic! Magician Drake Lonestar has come to town in order to make the town courthouse disappear. Nancy wants to learn the magician's secret, so she sneaks past the security guard and goes backstage. She meets Lonestar, who is surprisingly okay with having random teenagers run around before his show. He does a magic hat trick, which is a good excuse to have a cool cover picture. The show begins. Lonestar makes a screen appear from out of nowhere, and he forces the audience to watch his favorite YouTube videos, all of which are my old Oregon Trail walkthroughs. Then, he announces a randomly selected audience member will be allowed to watch the trick from on stage. Nancy Drew is the narrator of the book, so of course, she gets selected. She goes on stage and we have the big magic trick. Here's how it works. Lonestar pulls out a hula hoop. He covers it up, and then he says the magic words, "A la peanut butter sandwiches." He pulls off the curtain, and oh my, the courthouse has disappeared! Nancy doesn't know what forced perspective is, so she believes that the trick is real. Lonestar pretends to put the courthouse back, and the magic show ends. Wait, that's the entire show? Don't get me wrong, it was a cool trick, but I expect more than one trick out of a magic show. That's like going to a concert and only hearing one song. Oh well, Nancy got the tickets for free, I guess she can't complain. Mystery time! Remember the important jewelry box for Mr. Drew's case? It was stolen during the magic show. Normally the police would have been protecting the evidence rooms, but they all left the building because they didn't want to get hurt when the courthouse disappeared. Seriously? The police were afraid of being inside a disappearing building? They know magic isn't real, right? The mayor also believes in magic, so he turned off all the security cameras in the courthouse. No guards and no cameras. Really, anybody could have walked in and robbed this place. The police think Lonestar is the culprit, even though he's the only person with a solid alibi. I mean, he was on stage in front of hundreds of people at the time the crime occurred. He should be exonerated by that fact. Okay, well, maybe the police suspect Lonestar because he's the only magician in town. And clearly, taking something out of an unguarded building is a trick that only magicians can perform. No normal person could do something like that. Since magic is the key to this case, George does some research. We might not be able to say the same thing about the book's author. She says magicians can only do one type of magic. Wrong. Only an escape artist magician could have committed this crime. Also wrong. And I don't want to insult George too much here, but she really should have repeated this key premise. Only an escape artist could have committed this crime. Because 15 pages later, the security guard shows Nancy an escape trick, and alarm bells fail to go off in her head. Lonestar gets arrested, and the police find the missing jewelry box with the jewels inside his room. I guess that means he's been framed more nicely than my college diploma. Everybody gathers inside the judge's office to hear the initial verdict, when Nancy declares she's solved the case. She knows who the culprit is. It's... Never mind. We're putting the case on hold for a while, so Nancy can look inside Lonestar's hotel room. And before we do that, I just want to point out the awkward conversation at the start of chapter 15. Will a liar lie about his own lie? And if this liar is lying, which lie is he lying about? The liar who lied is not the lying liar. Nancy, quit messing around. Just tell us who the culprit is already. Nancy and her friends meet a random hotel employee. They talk with random employee for 6 pages, and he agrees to let them inside Lonestar's hotel room. Instead of going in through the door like normal people, random employee makes our heroes enter through the vent system. Weird. Hugo, the security guard, is the culprit. He explains everything. His original plan was to frame Lonestar for the jewel theft, but Hugo accidentally framed Mr. Drew's client so Nancy could be involved with the mystery. He accidentally framed Mr. Drew's client because of a mix-up with the room numbers. Now, getting away with the crime was not enough for Hugo, so he stole the jewels again, this time from the courthouse so he could frame Lonestar. Hugo does a magic trick to escape the room, but he is stopped by random employee. The book ends with random employee becoming a magician himself. You know, for someone who showed up at the very end of the book, random employee sure has gotten a lot of character development. More than, say, Nancy's boyfriend Ned. By the way, where is he? Did Nancy's dad fire him or something? The end. Post-Book Followup. Let me start by quoting another reviewer. The mystery was a bit too easy to solve because the author tells you what kind of person the thief must be, then she introduces you to a character that fits that description exactly. But then Nancy doesn't even consider that person until the end. That summary is 100% accurate. Also, the last 3 chapters, complete filler. Well, unless you're enamored with random employee. I think it would have played out better if Hugo the culprit was in the judge's chambers with everybody else, and Nancy confronted him right then and there. Because as it is, catching the culprit is put on hold, so Nancy can get information she already knows. Overall, I'd say this book is hit or miss. I like the idea of Ned being an intern for Nancy's dad. That could have been interesting. But it was just an excuse to keep Ned in the story when he has nothing at all to do with the mystery. Now, I believe the rumors that one person writes all of the books in this series, mainly because the characters are consistent from book to book. Characterization is definitely this author's strong point, because we consistently get interesting characters. Lonestar makes a nice victim. He is definitely mysterious and intriguing. There are also little moments between Bess and George in this book that I liked. So, like when they were fighting over who gets the last donut. That was real. That struggle really speaks to me. Okay, I've been talking for far too long. Let me finish. With this series, I've always removed a point because the books are double-spaced. Someone told me if you do the math, these books are pretty much the same length as the previous series. It's just that this series is a lot more obvious about trying to look longer than it actually is. Should I continue penalizing the series for this? I mean, it's not like it's the author's fault that the books are double-spaced, but I don't like double-spaced books, and whatever. I give Nancy Drew Diaries a number 8, The Magician's Secret, a 5 out of 10. Oh, and before I end this video, there's an 11-page preview for the next book in the series, at the end of this one. 8 of the 11 pages are about organic farming. Somehow, I'm not looking forward to this book.